So once again, welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Meggan Jacks. Today is August 2nd, and I have a single page layout for you today. It's from the Creative Memories blog from April 24th is when this was on the blog. It's if you go to the blog site and you look, you'll see it was part of the virtual crop. Kind of the the album completion. That's it. That's the word I wanted. Album completion. One of those one of those blog entries, the blog post, and then they always give us a project below that, right? So if you get those emails, it talks about, here's your album completion challenge. Check out those blog posts because there usually will be a project listed below all of the details about how to submit your album completion into the virtual crop group. So this was from one of those posts. It's a project using Setup Camp. And I thought it was lots of fun. It's on an angle, which is really exciting because I love things on the angles, but you don't have to angle it if you don't want to. So hopefully you have a chance to get the handout. It's on my blog. I just put it into a single page format so you guys can print them off, put them in your binders if you have an idea binder. The QR code at the top will take you to the Creative Memories blog if you want to see the article itself. Sometimes there's a few more photos that they'll include for directions, but for the most part, I copy and paste everything that is for the step-by-step directions from the blog. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see in the description below, you'll see a link to my blog. If you're watching this on Facebook Live right at the moment, in the post itself, there'll be a link to my blog that has the handout that you can get. I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to my overhead camera, and I'm going to show you what I've got going on for today. All right, so I am going to be using the Sun Rays for Days collection. This was last year's summer collection. It's really bright, colorful, kind of more of the primary colors as compared to this year's collection, which was a little bit more of the blues and the greens and the purples. Has some pinks in it. So last year's collection, that's the Sun Rays for Days. It is still available on the website. I'm not 100% sure if all of the pieces are still there, but I believe a good portion of them is. I'm using the paper. We've got some cardstock we're using. I've got one of the embellishment. This is part of the laser cut embellishments that goes for Sun Rays for Days. And I do have some border stickers that I'm going to be using. So here's the layout that we're going to be doing. You can see here they use the Setup Camp. It has this wonderful triangle detail that kind of goes through the layout for the border. It's a fun way to use scraps of paper. We will be using, or I will be using, the square punch to make those. And they have us using all sorts of papers. And so it's a fun way to use the different papers in there. But if that part gets a little intimidating for you or feels a little overwhelming, remember, you can dial that back. So I could have come in here and just matte everything in the same color, right? You have a lot of visual detail just by angling the photos coming off the page. And you don't even have to do that. We can set the photos on there straight. We can set everything straight, right? You don't have to do things at the angle. So if you're not a person who likes to look at things on the angle, well, that's okay. So I give you the measurements of the photos here in the sketch. And they do detail how the mats are. The mats are all about 1/4 of an inch bigger than the photos themselves. So where they say to use a 6x4 photo, you would use a 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch photo. And those are all detailed down here in the instructions. So I went ahead and picked out a bunch of photos. We took Cody to a park last week. The park got new playground equipment. So we went to explore and see what they added. So I had a bunch of photos and I printed them all out yesterday. I printed them at home and I printed them on I have the Epson PM400. It worked fantastic. I actually got it finally set up to work on my home Wi-Fi so that I was able to print directly from my phone, which was wonderful. So I just have a bunch of photos there cropped all to either 4x6, 3x4s. And the 3x4s on the Epson, I was able to print side by side as one 4x6, and then I cut them apart. I do have a couple of 4x4 squares. And I think I have one maybe that's cut to a 4x5. So I just basically had a lot of photos. How this particular layout works as you can kind of see here, we got a lot of horizontal photos. Anything that was vertical, I used as a 3x4, which was easy to print using the Creative Print app from Epson that goes with that Epson PM400. If you don't have an app like that, or don't have the printer, or you want to send these off to print with your favorite printer, use something like the Project Life app for your phone, which will allow you to create collages, a 4x6 collage that has two 3x4 images right next to each other. So that's an easy way to get those sizes. And so I just printed off a bunch. Now I did expand this into 2 pages. I got a lot of photos here. I was that crazy mom at the park following your kid around taking all these photos. Okay, so what I did, and this is a little bit cheating, a little bit more advanced than some of you may be able to do. I will admit I did mock this up in Photoshop. And the reason is I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing when I was talking with you guys today. If I was just doing this at home or doing this on my own, I wouldn't have necessarily done this. But I was able to figure out, to make sure that what I wanted to do was going to work. I didn't want to make the whole layout ahead of time. I just wanted to see what was going on. So I took the sketch, doubled it over, moved it up so I could see how that angle was going to carry across 2 pages. I can see that border is going to look really great. It's going to fade off of the left or the right-hand page. And but it let me map out for sure which photos I wanted to use, and just gave me a good solid map that I'm going to go with today. And like I said, I'm only doing this because I'm presenting to you guys. I just want to make sure that I put together a cohesive session here with you guys. If I was just doing this at a crop, I would not have taken this step. So don't feel that you have to do this to be able to be successful with this layout. All right. So to get started here, I need 2 background pages, and they had using Hot Fudge cardstock as the background. And when I was messing around with it, initially I was going to go with blue cardstock because I thought, oh, that will be fun. My photos have a lot of green. There was some blue. They had the artificial turf stuff that was blue at the playground. But then I was like, well, it didn't look quite right. It didn't provide that nice, I wanted a little bit more neutral background that would let the colors, the red, the greens, the blues pop a little bit more. So I'm going to go with Hot Fudge as my background cardstock. So I have 2 sheets of Hot Fudge. Then I have some additional papers here from the Sun Rays for Days. And this was me just going through, finding some stuff. I needed to make sure that I liked the colors I was going to use for my triangles. I picked out 3 different sheets that I had, just scraps of, that I punched some triangles or punched some squares. I then cut them into triangles. I'm going to have to do some more. So I will make sure to show you guys how I do that. And I did need the second step, they want us to create the angle to give us, basically, if you look on the sketch or the sample, there is a piece of paper that is cut on an angle here that anchors this top photo with the pieces of paper around it. And that line that we're going to cut on an angle is going to establish the angle that we attach our triangles, and then that helps us establish the angle for the photos. That is detailed in step 2, but I needed to find a paper that would work for that. I wanted something kind of neutral. They used just a tonal piece of off-white paper from the Setup Camp collection. So in the Sun Rays for Days, there is this neutral beigey paper that has the wording on it. You can see there's those summertime words. The other side is the blue clouds, the blue sky with the sun and the clouds. I'm going to be using this. Now this part is going to get to where I have to wing it a little bit. I will be able to put the first page together. My left side page is this right here. It's the right side page that I'm going to be carrying things over. So you can create just the left side page. If you want to create both sides, you can, I would suggest maybe just watching as I put it together. Let me make the mistakes first, right? And then you guys can put it together. The other option here is we don't have to put anything on an angle. Where they tell us to cut in step 2, to cut it at an angle, you could come in and just cut a 5-inch piece of paper across the top. And just do a 5x12 piece of paper. You would line all of your little triangles across it and create the border detail that they have there. All right. But I'm going to cut this as an angle because I love angles. So let's go ahead. I've got my background paper. I am ready to start with step 2. So they want us to measure down 5 inches on the from the upper left corner, and then down 2 inches on the upper right. So let me grab my 13 by 13 mat. And then I'm going to go ahead and measure down 5 inches. 5 inches on the left side. So I'm going to come all the way down. 5 inches from the top on the left side is actually measuring down to the number 7. 12 is at the top. 0 is at the bottom when you're on the left side. So I'm going to mark 5 inches from the top, which is at my 7. Now make sure whatever paper you have here, if it has a direction to it, you want to make sure that that direction, that this is the top edge. This particular piece of paper, the words go both directions. There's no top or bottom. There is side to side. So I make sure my words are legible. At least half of them are. The other half are upside down, which is just part of the design. So I've got 5 inches on the left side. I'm going to come over here to 2 inches on the right, and I'm going to measure, and then I'm going to cut. Like I said, if you want to make this just straight, you would just probably come in here and let me just really quick, before I tell you to cut at 5 inches, you may actually want to cut a little bit closer. We're trying to put some, you may have to make some other adjustments, some 4-inch photos. You may not be able to get all of the photos on like they do. They're sneaking a lot more in by angling things. So you may have to cut it closer to 4 inches. Depending on your paper, you might go ahead and start with the 5 inches and be prepared to scale it back to 4 inches. The other thing you do is put your photos on first. Like I could have come in here and add my photos and then figure out where my where I need to cut. So I'm just laying some photos on here. See how this could go. You could have 2 rows of photos, and then I would probably actually come in and maybe just cut. I would probably cut it 2 inches, and then I wouldn't worry about having that top layer. I would really just focus on that triangle of photos coming across, or of the triangles coming across the top. So you're going to go ahead, and that would be kind of just more of a basic way to do it if you didn't want to angle everything. All right, but I'm going to angle it. So I've got my measurements, 5 inches and 2 inches. Grab my trimmer, and I'm going to cut this on an angle. And let's see here. So definitely pushing the boundaries on what I can do here with my trimmer. That's okay. Save this piece of paper. Don't let it go too far. So this paper comes here at the top of my cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and tack it into place. I've got a lot of other moving parts in this particular layout. It's going to just be easier for me if I go ahead and put this one down. Those might be famous last words as well. So we will put this into place. Okay. So here you can see I'm establishing my angle. This is where I'm going to line up my triangles. My triangles are going to go on, and that will just go from point to point. Just keep lining up all the way down. Let's go ahead and create some of those triangles. I have got a whole bunch of them already done. I think I'm going to need a few more, so I'll walk you through how I did it. It's really easy if you have the Creative Memories square punch, or really any square punch. This square punch is 1 3/4 inches. That's what the layout was designed using, the measurements. So what you're going to want to do here is the square punch, and I'm going to go ahead and punch. I think I need more well, we'll think. I think I need some more flip-flops. The other side is the watermelon, so I can get one more out of that. I like to punch from the back side with a square, largely because it allows me just to tuck things right next to each other. All right, so I made my square. Now, the directions want us to use our trimmer to cut on the angle. And so you could definitely do that. If you want to use your trimmer, go ahead and trim on the angle. I am comfortable using my scissors and just cutting on the angle, so from corner to corner. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. If you feel like you get a better point-to-point cut using your trimmer, go ahead and do so. This one wasn't as good as I'd like, probably because I'm on camera, but I am satisfied enough. I've got a couple other here. Like here's another one I've already punched, and I'm just going to go corner to corner to cut those triangles. I think it's just a little faster to use scissors. So next, I can't put my triangles on quite yet because, well, actually, okay, here's the deal. I can put my triangles on if I wanted to, but you can see here in the samples, the triangles actually are on top of this first row of photos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of triangles in place, like mostly just here at maybe the top edges here. Why? That's going to give me my spacing. I know my photos are not supposed to touch the bottom of the triangles here, and my photos will be slightly tucked under the top here. So that's going to let me come in with my photos, and I've already matted my photos. You may not have your photos matted yet. I matted them only because I've got like 11 photos here, and you did not want me to sit there and cut 11 mats. The measurements are very simple. They're just 1/4 of an inch bigger than your photos. So if you're making this from scratch, you're probably going to still be working on trying to get your photos laid out. I am going to talk to you. I'm going to lay out my photos here and just kind of show you how this goes together. And I'm going to give you a quick rundown of some of the decisions I made regarding the photos, because this particular layout, when we start cutting things off the page and we use angles and we're cutting bits of our photos, we really want to make sure when we are printing our photos or selecting the photos that we're keeping those cuts in mind. A great example is this photo right here. Do you see how I'm cutting off quite a bit of that upper bit? So the photo, when I printed it, I made sure to get a photo where I could cut off this part here. Actually, when I printed this, I made sure, normally I would have centered this a little bit more maybe. I mean, he's kind of crazy here with his legs on that spinny thing, but I made sure that this was a photo that I knew I could cut on that angle. I can cut off this upper left-hand angle. So that's super easy. Then I wanted to have a showcase photo, and he was practicing jumping off of the swing. So I have a showcase photo. This is my kind of my statement photo. It's a little bit bigger. Wanted to be able to show, just caught a quick action shot of him jumping off. Now here, if you're doing a single page layout, you're going to want another 3x4 photo. And again, you need something that you can cut that lower left, or excuse me, lower right portion. Now, I'm not doing a single page layout, I'm doing a double. So I needed to either have 2 3x4 photos here, or I needed to have a 4x6 photo that could span both and still be cut down the middle. That might be a little advanced depending on how comfortable you are doing this. It would not be a beginning technique to try, and you may not like cutting your photos. You may not have a photo that works. I happen to have a photo that works. They're playing on this rocky boat thing. So my husband's back at the other end. He's trying to make it, jostle up and down. And, Cody's sitting here at the front of the boat like, okay, Dad, this kind of is, When you're 8.5 pushing 9, we know we are working through the final days of really enjoying these playgrounds. All right. So here we go. So I'm going to be able to cut this photo right down the middle. I'm not cutting through anything important. My husband's going to be on the left page. Cody will be on the right page. Worked out perfect. Then this next 3x4 photo, I didn't have to worry about anything. It was going to be easy peasy. I just picked a photo that would go well. Up here, I went with, I picked a photo out and I cut it a little bit short because it was mostly going to be off the page. Just something I knew I could cut that end. All right, so you can start to see how I'm going across. The key to this is all my photos are 4 inches high. Remember, you could easily carry this over and go straight across. All right, everything that we're doing, I'm doing on the angle, could easily be done by just moving things straight across. If you don't like the angles, don't worry about it. You could probably still keep this at an angle if you really wanted to, but if you didn't want your photos to be at the angle, you can adjust that. So I know I get some feedback every once in a while when I design stuff where the photos are angled. They're like, I don't like those angles. That's okay. That's okay. I am going to have a photo up here at the top. It's another 3x4 photo. I needed something that I could cut the top edge off. So I made sure to keep my family there a little bit more at the bottom. And here's where I've got to figure out the spacing. Because my triangles, and these are 1 3/4 inch triangles, 1 3/4 inch, or excuse me, 1 3/4 inch squares that we cut on an angle to create the triangles. If for some reason I decide these are all too big, I can come back and scale that down. I could come in and I could cut these triangles again in half, have even more littler triangles that'd be like half the size, but I'm still keeping that same detail going across. The downside to that is I have picked out a border that I was going to come across here with, and I'm going to be using this sun border. And if I cut those in half, it's not going to work as easily. I would have to change that border detail. So we'll see how we go. All right. So I think that spacing, let me just make sure that I'm going to be able to get my other photos on as I imagined. This photo is going to be here. I purposely did this one. It should cut just fine. When I did this photo here, I made sure to crop him so he was more at the top. He actually should have been a little bit higher, I think. All right. So I think this is going to be my layout. It should be fine. I think what I am going to have to do, though, I can come down just a little bit more. So my space from the top, my photos to the top edge there, let me see what that is. It looks like I'm going to be about 1 3/8 inches. I have about 1.25 inches from here to the tip of my triangle. And if I come down and I am 1 3/8 inches, I should be good. So I'm going to cheat this a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here is I have that 1 3/8 inches in my mind. I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm going to come here, and we'll grab, oh, well, where did it go? I wanted to grab my T-square, but I can't find it. It's hiding from me. And I'm going to mark 1 3/8 inches. I should be able to just come down and mark 1 3/8 inches from the top corner and the bottom corner of my pattern paper here, that 1 3/8 inches. I'll grab my 18-inch ruler here. Looks like I need to come down just a little bit more. Yep, I need to come down just a little bit more. Okay, so here's what I'm noticing about the upside of this 18-inch ruler. Yeah, Judith, you're saying that zero centering ruler is great for this. And the reason why is I've got measurements on this 18-inch ruler I have here. I've got some measurements. So let me grab my zero centering ruler too. And we can probably do the same thing. Oh, and there's my T-square ruler. Oh, fancy. I put all my rulers in one spot. How organized of me. Okay, so here's my 0 center ruler. And I can come in here and I can find, look on here, I've got 1 inch. Let's see here. Oh, there's a 0. So if I come up, I want to come down 1 inch and 3/8. Oh, well, the 0 center ruler will work. The measurements are, I'm having a moment here where I'm just struggling to get it, but I can do it with my 18-inch quilting ruler here. Basically what I found is I can come up 1 inch and then it is marked. It has some hashes here. There is the long line, the long thin pink line is 1/4 inch. The little hash mark in the middle is 3/8. So here is 1 3/8 inch. I'm going to mark it with my pencil. And I probably should mark it so that I could actually see it. It wasn't quite dark enough. I was trying to go light, but I'm on the hot fudge, so it's hard to see. Give it a little bit darker. There we go. Now I can see it. Now I know where my photos are. Now, if you are working on a 2-page layout, what I'm going to do, and again, I'm going to tell you guys, 18-inch ruler's fabulous. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use the angle of my previous. So I'm going to allow this angle here. I've lined that 1 3/4 inch up, but I'm going to come in here and extend it further down the line. So that I can carry my paper over. I've carried it over. I've got my paper lined up. I'm going to carry that line across to my second piece. So when I'm putting my photos on, I've got a continuous angled line across. The great thing about these 18-inch rulers, you just have that ability to overlap a little bit more, do those longer pieces. All right. I will be carrying this piece over to this other piece here, but I wanted to go ahead and get that angle measured and carry it over because it's cohesive into the 2 pages. I will put this other piece on there, so don't worry about that. Okay. So now that that is in place, I'm going to go ahead and start putting my photos on, my big photos here. I'm going to go ahead and put those in place because once I have those in place, then I'm going to start coming in with all the other little details. I need to pick out another piece that's going to come down in this lower corner. That's just going to be some designer paper. Across the top, there'll be some other patchwork pieces. You can see in the original layout here where they come in with just those additional pattern pieces. I will get those placed after I place my photos. That's going to allow me to see the balance of colors, okay? Okay, so I do have my I know this picture goes on as such. This one comes over here. I am going to cut some off. That angled line is going to make it really easy for me. I am making sure to keep my 2 pieces completely together. My 2 pieces of background paper. I will use my trimmer to cut them apart. Remember, I've got this photo. I'm going to have 2 photos that overlap. I will make sure to keep everything nice and tight together. Angled in here. Like I said, if you don't want to do it on the angle, don't worry about it. Make the layout work for you. Keep the parts you like. Get rid of the parts you don't. You love those triangle bordered. Focus on that. Okay. I think that spacing is going to work. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to put this piece in first because I want to make sure it hits the spot where I want it, which is right. I make sure my husband's on one side, Cody's on the other, and that's going to work fine. I am going to have to put more adhesive on once I cut the photo in half, so I'll add that later. Here we go. That will help my 2 pieces of paper stay together too. This photo is the one that goes here at the bottom and crisscrosses that center line again. I'm going to cut right down here the middle. So I want to make sure here's the line where I'll cut. I think that's going to look good. So I'll put some adhesive on this. That will also help stabilize. Okay. Once you put the first photos in place, everything else should fall together pretty easily. I've got that line. I should follow, make sure I'm using my pencil line. I didn't have a pencil line for my bottom row. I could have measured it. I could have measured down maybe 4.5 inches or so. I'm going to eyeball it. I am not worried about the things that are going to overhang. I am going to I'll cut those all off later. So I'm not worried. They overhang, they overhang. I'll clean it all up later. The only part I'm concerned about is just not making sure I'm not going to cut off, hopefully not cut off important pieces of my photos. So what I did for my mats is I just kind of, as I was picking the colors I was going to mat the photos with, I did try to keep those colors as, move the separator around. So I have yellow here, I have yellow there. My oranges ended up being a little bit close together over here. So I made sure to carry some orange up here to the top. Play around with it a little bit. The problem I ran into a little bit was I knew that I wanted to use the watermelon paper here to mat the photos. And the way it was positioned, it really is close in turn. It's close in tone to the yellow or the orange cardstock that I used. I used paprika cardstock. It's from a cardstock buffet a few years ago. And the watermelon and the orange, when they're side by side, kind of blend together. So they really needed to be separated from each other. And I wanted to use the watermelon paper over here in this lower corner. So I couldn't put orange here, here, or here. So they had to be yellow, blue, and green. And so that kind of dictated some of my stuff there. Okay, so this photo is the orange, or the paprika. Just a little bit of a softer orange. I guess I should put the rest of these top photos in before I start angling these bottom ones. This blue that I'm using is the, oh my gosh, it was the mid-tone blue that was in the most recent cardstock buffet. It's a really, really pretty mid-tone blue. I cannot remember the colors there. Somebody remembers that mid-tone. It wasn't lake blue. It was the other. Okay, see, here I can tell over in the corner, I'm going to clear my triangle. If my triangle comes across here, I am going to clear the angle here. So all those photos are in place. I need to place this photo here. I want a little bit of spacing where it's going to cover up. Slide my triangle along and see how that looks really good. Actually, I should have measured that. Looks like I am right about an inch from the top. So what I'll do is I'm actually just going to leave my ruler in place here, using it kind of like my T-square. Leave my ruler in place and I'll just butt that photo right up there. double check. Yep, I have a little bit of overlap without it being too much. It may have been marine blue. So yeah, I see Dawn made the comment about like, I'm troubleshooting. Yes, let me troubleshoot this for you, right? Putting it together, work you through some of the intricacies of putting it together. It is a beautiful layout. It just takes a little bit of the measuring, using the rulers, carrying it over into the two pages, the way I did it with splitting those photos, might be a little bit of an additional detail you may not want to worry about, but it's a fun layout to put together for sure. All right, so now I need to go ahead and I need to put this other piece in place right up here. So I'm going to come back to my paper. So I already cut this top piece off, right? Now where I'm really fortunate on this is I can rotate this paper around and it is still legible. It's still the same thing. So what I'm going to be able to do is come in here and I'm going to be able to just add this paper, and I could probably come in here and just measure a little bit with my pencil. I'm carrying that angle. You guys can see how that angle just carries right on up, right? I just flip the paper around. You may not be able to do that with your paper. If you have a true paper here, you may not be able to do it, but let me get you the measurements for that. So let's see here. This side is whatever it is. Oh, it should be 2 inches on the one side. And then we're going to cut over, and it looks like we're going to come over from it looks like it's about 8 1/4 inch. So if you're cutting from a regular piece of paper, this piece here, yeah, it looks like if you cut it to 8 1/4. All right, so I'm going to be patient with me here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this paper. I measured the angle. It's 2 inches, and then here's my angle where it goes. So I'm literally just going to cut at 2 inches and cut straight over because I've already got an established angle, right? I just flipped my paper around. There, that worked great for me. Now you may not be able to do that. Maybe you have a piece of paper that you can't do, and you said, oh, my top, I still need it to be the top of my paper. What you're going to do, you're going to cut a rectangle at 2 inches. It's going to be 2 inches wide or 2 inches tall. All right. So there, now what I need to do is I'm going to cut it at 8 1/4 inches. 8 1/4 inches. That is the distance that it takes for this piece to finally fade all the way off the page. 8 1/4 inch. If you have your paper, write it on there. Second page, you need to come over 2 by 8 1/4 inches, or a rectangle. I'm going to do it on the back here. You need a rectangle. Two inches by 8 1/4 inch. And then you're going to cut that on the diagonal. This piece here, you don't need that piece. This piece here will be the one that you want to use. So this needs to be the top of your paper. Now, you might be using a completely directional or non-directional paper and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to cut this to 8 1/4 inches wide. It's already 2 inches tall. This is the top edge of my paper. And now I'm going to cut this, and I got to keep my top edge here. And then I'll cut that on the diagonal. I must not have made that quite right, the 2 inches. My measurements must be a little bit off. Or my measurements to begin with are off. I'm a little short on my 2 inches. I think when I cut it on my trimmer, I didn't quite cut it to that full 2 inches wide. I got to be chatting instead of doing what I needed to do. But the 2 by 8 1/4 will work as long as you truly cut it to 2 inches. Let me just double check. Did I really not cut that? Yeah, I'm an 1/8 of an inch shy, or excuse me, a 1/16 of an inch shy. So if you need to cut it a little bit long or a little bit wide, but that just a smidge, right at that 2, slightly a little more than 2, and you should be good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this in place. I am going to use some repositionable adhesive on that tip. I want to make sure this thin triangle sticks so that it doesn't catch. I also ran out of, there we go. Okay, so we can see we got that nice angle across the top. Got a little pencil marks I'm going to have to come in and clean up. So make sure you're using light pencil marks. Okay, so now it's time to start working with, I got the whole thing. I put adhesive on this, this piece right down here, and now the whole thing's sticking to my table. I'm going to use a scrap. I don't want it to stick to my table anymore. I need to be able to move my layout around. All right. Yes, if you guys are looking for the 18-inch quilting ruler, you can actually go to megganandtessa.com and go to our favorite things. And I believe there is a link to the 18-inch ruler on there. I just get it on Amazon. It's the Fiskars brand. The one I have is, it's pink, but they call it red. So they either have a black or a red option. But just so you know, the red is a little bit more to the pink side. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead here. We're going to come across and start, well, I take it back. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some pieces to put in those other quilted pieces. I call them quilted because the way we're like kind of paper piecing, well, that's maybe not the right term. We're color blocking with additional pieces of cardstock or designer paper to fill in these components. So up here at the top, I've got some orange. What color do I not have up here? I've got some green here and some green here. So I want to come in with a green up here at the top. Now, my option is to come in with the leaf green as the cardstock color I used here. Up here at the top, I think I'm actually going to stick maybe with my patterned paper, which is out of the, it's just a fun grass print, has dandelions on there. So all of these pieces that come across the top, I want to cut them. They are going to be 3 1/4 inch tall by 4 wide. They don't even need to be 4 wide because of the way this is going to all just go together. So what I'll do here is from my scrap, do you guys ever have this moment where you're looking at your paper and you're like, well, if I cut off here, which is what I really only need, I think I'll cut this side. I'm trying to figure out, how do I get the piece I need? Is really what I'm trying to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut it so that this right here is 4 1/4 inches wide. I need to actually cut off a strip, establish a nice clean edge, and I'll come over here to 4 1/4. That's going to give me the biggest swath here that is still that full 12-inch length. And 3 1/4 inches wide. It doesn't need to be any bigger than that. This will get put right there. Now then I'm just going to continue to look at this. I want to bring in some of the blue, but I'm not going to use, this is where I'm coming in for these pieces. I am coming back into my scraps off of the actual pattern paper. So where I used cardstock to map my photos, I'm going to use designer paper where we can actually see the paper itself. On my cardstock for my mats, you can't see the pattern that well. And I had similarly colored cardstock to mimic the paper in my designer paper. So I went with my cardstock. The exception was the watermelon paper, and that was because I did not have a similarly colored reddish pinkish color. So I used actual pattern designer paper in here. I probably could have cut out the center of it and carried those pieces over to my scraps here. but I'm not going to worry about that. Here, I'm going to go ahead and I need something again that's going to be, I'm going to come in here, I think just do 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. I'm going to come in here with a smaller piece, do just more of a square that should go from side to side there. So let me go ahead, cut this piece to 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. It doesn't even need, it won't even need to be that big truly, because I've got a lot of scrap up here at the top. Well, I probably shouldn't have put my adhesive on yet. Got so excited. I'm gonna grab my 18-inch ruler, line that up at that 1 inch again. And that's gonna be where I put my photos, or where I put those pieces of paper. Actually, I'm gonna change this. I don't want this blue piece here. I think I'm gonna bring the blue piece down over here. And the reason for that is I do want to put some yellow in, but I don't want to have my yellow over here where I've got this yellow. All right. So I'm going to put some yellow up here. And that was on, what page is that on? It's on the back side of this. So I'm going to come in here to 3 1/4 inch wide. I don't know how tall it is. It's plenty tall because I'm working with such a little area right now. As this starts to fade off, this angle starts to fade off. I've got one little scrappy piece here I need to do. I'm going to come in with that watermelon, and I've got some scraps of the watermelon here. It doesn't even need to be very much because it's fading off the page so quickly. You can see, right? It's hardly a triangle at all there. It will end up being cut off. And I'm just keeping that 18-inch ruler in place. You may have a different ruler you're using, but that is letting me just apply those pieces so quickly. Now I do need a bigger piece of watermelon over here in the corner. This one needs to be, I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Well, 4 1/4 by, it doesn't need to be the full. 4 1/4 by 2 1/2 will be plenty. So I'm going to cut a piece of paper 2 1/2 inches wide. And this, you're just piecing these pieces in there. I think the directions, the Creative Memories blog has more specific sizes, but I'll put this one in place here. My tape runner ran out and I forgot to grab a refill to have ready for me. I think that's all I'm going to do there for now. I will come in at the bottom here. Let me go ahead and get the triangles in place. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here down at the bottom. I probably will come in, but what I want to do is I'm actually going to see how the triangles look here, because maybe I'm going to pull in that triangle detail here at the bottom. I do have some additional paper. See how I could bring in this at the bottom if I wanted to, maybe mimic what I've got. It's not a lot of space here. I'm not, it's just a little detail that I could add. So I'm going to leave that bottom corner on this second page open right now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start putting in some triangles. I'm first going to lay these out. I'm going to dry fit them. I am purposefully ignoring the bright yellow. When I put my papers on, I'm not going to use the yellow side. The reason is because I've got that border sticker that I'm going to use on here is the sun, and it has a lot of yellow in it, obviously. So we'll go ahead. Let's see here. And I am just placing these for spacing, and I'm going to set up the triangles that I want here, and I'm going to repeat the pattern. So I've got the colors I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and repeat. I am going to swap out that green. I prefer my grass to be kind of pointed in the right direction. So there's that. So now we'll go here with the, I don't know if I have enough of the grass that's green. We'll come in here with the watermelon, the flip-flops, the blue, and the orange. Where I cross the page, I am definitely going to have to use lots of adhesive so that when I cut, oops. Blue, orange. I need to punch and cut another . So now, yeah, you guys can see how it's starting to take shape. You can't put the triangles on until you get this top piece put on, but I didn't want to necessarily put the top piece on until I had these put on so I could see how my colors balanced out, right? I want to see how these, how my cardstock or my mats balance out against what's up here. And you just keep putting on these triangles on until they fade completely off the page, or however you want to do it. I'm going to have a spot up here where there's basically going to be, the triangles are going to fade off, or the tan fades off the tonal piece, but my triangles keep going. So that could be really interesting, putting those into place. Relying a lot on how that angles in. And I think one more, I need one more blue and orange triangle. Cut it on the diagonal. Okay, so you can see here, now then I do have to make that decision. Am I going to come down here and repeat things over again? So if I do, it's work. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot, it's coming in again with, taking the time. And the problem I'm going to run into is that the triangles are kind of big to come across here. I mean, I truly don't even know if I can get enough on here to make it that you can even see, to feel like you're getting that same effect. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I could cut the ones in the in half on the bottom, but then they're going to be completely like scaled down. So I'm just not sure. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to just continue to leave this blank. You guys kind of, and I will see what I need to do is trim. I need to get all these triangles put on. I need to trim it all out, separate the two sheets, and then that can really let me play down here and focus down here and see what I want to do. I do have, you know, a really cute just summer title. It fell on the floor. I could just come down here at the bottom. I'm not, okay, here, this is out of the laser cut. I do not want this umbrella on here, so I am going to chop the umbrella off, and thankfully it chops off super easy. I just want it to say summer. I could come in and just do something like this, right? Still carry in that darker color down here, but just go like that. And I think, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to do so that I don't have to try to squeeze in all those extra pieces. I'm trying to figure out where else I was going to be able to put that summer board, the title, because I like it. It's cute. It's got the sunshine and all that fun stuff, carries those colors. So I think that's how I'm going to do it here at the bottom and not necessarily worry about putting the triangles there. So at this point now, it is literally taking the time and just adding in all these triangles. I'm going to move this up. And this is where I wish I had that little silicone, the little small silicone mat that's coming. My 2-day order, it will be here tomorrow. Otherwise, be showing it off to you guys. And it's going to be the fun task of just coming in and putting in these triangles. And I do want them, trying to get these triangles on here. I gotta have to figure out the method for that. Okay. When you're doing this here and you're trying to figure out where is center, is it over here, over here? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat this a tiny bit. I'm going to fold each one in half and give it a quick pinch. That tells me where my middle is on the back side. So when I go to apply this, there's my middle, there's my tip. I've got it in there square. All right. Again, I'm taking my triangle. I'm going to fold it in half. This side here, I'm going to give it a quick pinch. That tells me the middle. So when I go to apply it, I'm applying it straight. The fold is pretty negligible. You can actually just apply a lot of adhesive on that folded point and it will be down very, you can't notice it at all. And also I'm putting a sticker across the middle of it. You're not going to see that at all. But that is probably the fastest way to be able to find the center so you know you're applying your triangles straight, that they're going to be on here. And all of your straight lines are going to be parallel and you're really going to feel that. Otherwise, you're going to have some, tilted, maybe a little bit, cattywampus. Takes a little more time, obviously, to make those folds, but you make up for it in your placement. I want to get this first page done because I want to put that sticker on. I want to show you guys what it looks like with the sticker. So I'm trying to get these triangles in place. This is definitely one of those pieces, those layouts you want to make when you're feeling a little crafty, right? You want to play around a little bit more. You want to have that sense of I'm learning something new, and I totally put my adhesive on the wrong side. Playing around with your tools. You're learning new ways to use your tools. Using the that 18-inch ruler to do those angles will definitely help learning what all these tools and rulers and everything else that we have can do for us. Do you guys like having your photos on an angle? You guys should tell me that in your comments. Is that something you shy away from doing? Do you, or is that something you're okay with? I know some people like it and some people don't. I don't think I like it all the time, but I do think it's fun to do that. So I'm just pinching the triangles in half, just pinching that long straight edge that lets me find the middle, so that when I'm putting my triangles on, I can line up that pinched piece on that line and the point comes on the line. And this point is going to be, oh, it's in a rough spot. I'm going to put on just a couple more on the second page because that's going to let me allow me to go ahead then and apply that sticker, that border stickers. Remember, border stickers, laser cut borders are all as part of a promo this week into next week, I think it is. You can get the silicone, the 13x5 silicone mat, which would be just about, oh, here is 12, it comes down. So it's going to be 5 inches. So I think it's actually a 4-inch, it's a 4-inch grid with a 1/2 inch of the extra mat all the way around. So where you see this 8 here, that's the 4 inches. So it would cut off about right here. So it'd be just what you can see on the screen. Right now I have a bunch of this hanging over the table into my lap. When I have that 13x5 inch mat, it would just sit right there and just give me that perfect work surface to be able to do the, to apply those things. But you can see here, I've got that, those triangles in place. Like I said, I'm just do this last one and I'm going to put that sticker on so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, when you guys are applying these triangles, make sure you do that quick pinch. That's the only way to get them straight. Okay, so here's my border stickers. Now, I think I'm going to apply that, right? What do you guys think? I can apply this a little bit because I have a second one, and my second one, is, you can see the second one is largely going to angle off the page when I put it on over here. Because what I think I can do is I can actually let it angle off, and I should have enough. Oh my goodness. Okay, I am going to put the sticker on there. I am not going to put the sticker on until I have the ability to rotate my paper and really make sure I line it up. I can't do it from my positioning, and I can't move everything around until I cut this whole contraption apart. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and finish this out. I'm going to apply the rest of these stickers. Probably what you see going on here is going to be how it works down in this lower corner. I don't know whether I'll find some other embellishment. I'll have to look through the stickers, I'll look through everything else and add some additional details here. But I'm going to leave you guys just how this is, and then I'll post the final image later. I just need to get these put on. I need to trim everything out, slice it in half, and then go ahead and put those stickers on. And I want to be able to rotate it so I can follow that exactly. I do not want to stick that sticker on after all of this work and put it on at the right angle or the wrong angle, right? That would not be, that would not make me happy after all of the work that we just went through to put those, cut and put everything together, right? Okay, so you guys get a good idea of what this has looked like. I will have the final piece done here in a little bit. And I do agree, Grace. I mean, it's pretty, I mean, those triangles are pretty nice on there. What I might be able to do is go back through some of my things and figure out, maybe I'll make an adjustment. I don't know. Until I got it all put together, I wasn't sure. So we'll see. One of the things you can do is obviously those sticker packs that we had, the stickers, Oh my goodness, I'm having a moment. The sticker packs, right, that we have, the border stickers. There are some thin ones in there. I could come in with a double rick rack and I could punch some yellow. I could use my sunshine punch. I could use a firecracker punch to make a sun. There's lots of ways I can do this, and I might play around with that a little bit just to make certain. Because let me, Grace, that's a great thing to point out, that those triangles are very nice just by themselves. You don't have to add anything, or you could add something really small. So I might play around with it, but I've got to get it finished and cut it apart first. And then I can really step back and take a look. And I will tell you guys, I will probably not delay trying to get something done because I want to get the final one for you guys to see. But there are times where I would literally do that and I'd walk away from it for a little while. I'd set it to the side. I'd come back to it because I can't decide. I did all this work. It's beautiful. And I just have to make that decision. Does it need something else, or maybe it doesn't, right? So that's kind of how the things can work. So we can sometimes feel that rush to want to finish it and be done, which is perfectly understandable. But every once in a while, especially for those really special layouts, do what you get to the point until you're not really necessarily ready to make the next decision for whatever reason. Put it aside, put everything else with it, and then come back to it. Leave yourself a little note. Don't forget to go revisit that, or just leave it on your work table, walk away, go, sit on the back porch with a frosty beverage, and then come back to it and see what you think. All right. So that is going to be Scrapbook Live for today. I will finish putting this together. Our next Scrapbook Live will be in 2 weeks. So August 14th, we're doing every other week. We'll do the 14th, and then we'll come back on the 28th. I think it is. Oh man, I am really going to I got to get a calendar out. These are lots of numbers. Oh no, the 16th and then the 30th. See, I got to count the days right. The 30th. And so I think that 30th, it's the last Wednesday of the month, we will do borders. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. We have, there's currently the borders promotion going on with Creative Memories by 6 borders, and you can receive the 13x5 silicone mat for free. And the new collection, the Birthday Bonanza, just launched. Be sure to check out the sale area of the Creative Memories website. There's some great collections in there. If you have lots of birthday stuff to do and you loved party time, this is your time to grab it. It's on sale. It will be once it's gone, it's gone. It's Fall Y'all is also on there. I also want you guys to pay attention. Noreen is going to be doing some stuff in the virtual crop group this afternoon. She does her fast and fun, I think that's what they're called, or something like that, projects. And for the past this summer, they're doing the Sizzling Summer project. So we've already had 4. I think this will be the 5th week. And they have been putting some items for sale, like on a promo, after Noreen does her Facebook Lives. And those are also available on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you should definitely go check them out. They're on the Creative Memories YouTube channel. And what they'll do is Creative Memories will have that kind of like a flash sale, a little bit, of these products. And they go on sale about 3 o'clock Pacific time from when Noreen starts her live through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific. So it's, like 36 hours. It's not a huge amount of time, a little more than 36 hours, but they can be great deals to get. So be sure to take a look at those. And as usual, if you guys have questions, send me a message. I'll get this all finished up, share it with you. Look forward if you guys have a chance to put it together, whether it's single page, whether it's a double page, maybe you kept everything straight and you're just using the triangles. Great ways to give it a shot, and can't wait to see what you guys do with it. Next week is virtual crop. So next Friday, we'll have that between now and then. And then, of course, the summer sizzling challenges that Noreen's been doing. There's lots of things to keep you guys busy as we are working our way through a pretty fantastic summer and so forth. So I do want to mention that if you guys are looking for a fall crop to go do, if you are in Washington State, you want to come over to the Seattle area, or maybe you just want to get out and explore a little bit of the country and crop while you're at it. I have a crop and the first weekend in November in Linwood, Washington, which is just on the north side of Seattle. Details on that can be found on my website at megganjax.com. All right, so that's all I have for you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you all again soon. Oh, real quick, Power Hour. Tess and I finally got the date set up for Power Hour. It is going to be August 15th, It's a Tuesday. We are doing it at 10 a.m. Pacific. She and I just trying to get evening hours in August. We're not working out. So August 15th at 10 a.m. Pacific, we are going to do Power Hour. That will be just before we meet again for Scrapbook Live. So I wanted to make sure you guys know about that. All right, that's all I have. You guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks for watching.